You don't have to freeze eggs in that situation. She's got money is my point.
I've been in treatment. I've been in treatment. I've been in treatment.
My crispy crabs are finally here, and they have a buy one, get one free deal right now. These are super delicious and low in calories, but also help manage blood pressure.
Sugar. Oh my gosh, this is honestly so delicious.
More addictive than potato chips. This golden spicy crispy baby crab is made from wild deep sea crabs harvested from Alaska. Crafted with a unique low-temperature baking technique, it locks in freshness while removing excess oil, leaving every shell delightfully crisp. It contains 0 carbs, high protein, and low calories, and is rich in natural omega-3 and premium calcium. It helps boost metabolism and regulate blood sugar and blood pressure, boasting far superior nutrition compared to ordinary snacks. Manufactured under America's strictest food safety standards, the product holds FDA registration and has passed rigorous third-party testing for pure, reliable safety. Satisfy late-night cravings or daily snack urges without any guilt. We've hit the prime crispy season right after the crabs shed their shells, thin shells packed with tender meat, a chance you won't get again for a whole year. Portable individual packaging lets you enjoy it anytime, anywhere. Today only, buy one, get one free. Double the serving size to share with the whole family.
I need for them to
I haven't seen anything.
literally.
A lot of people from Africa be up here.
They're trying to do a match. Should we do it?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay. Let's just
Forget it.
I don't know who's gonna win because there's literally nobody in here.
There's nobody in here. I'm just in here drinking.
Hi, Luke. Oh, you're cute. Bruh. And this person's not even talking.
Right, they're like, are they in the bed?
Hello. Gulp.
Hello. How Medea says it. Hello.
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 I'm crying, bro. I don't know.
Hello.
I'm wondering, do I just leave and come back? Should I leave and then come back? Hi, CB.
I'm wondering, should I end my... Oh, shoot.
I just don't freaking know anymore.
I wonder, should I end my live and then come back on?
That's what I'm saying. I don't freaking know. Because this thing is like low-key not...
I know last time when I was up here smoking. Hi, Jackson. How you doing? Please come say hi. Send gifts.
Hi. Hello, staff. Sorry
I
for
don't know who this person right here up top is, so ignore them.
Huh?
This person up top.
Yeah.
Just come ignore them.
I don't really know what they got going on.
Jackson, are you there? I know I look busted right now. I have no makeup on.
Girl, you do not look busted. Oh my gosh, I don't know. Hi, Gerald.
Hi, Gerald.
Thanks, bro. Fairs. You know what fairs is? Like, you just gotta do this. Yeah. Bro, I don't know. Should we leave and come back or something? I say we leave and then
What
come back?
about
How about I
that?
follow you?
Try to
And
get
so I can get out of this battle.
that's being done
Yeah.
for them.
And then I'm gonna go live
Interesting.
again and then just join it
All
if
right,
you
let's
want.
take
You
a
don't have
quick
to.
break. When we come back, I know I want to talk about some of the other businesses that the cartels.
What?
Yes. The cartel.
I don't know what this person's talking about. Let's just leave and come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tracking spending and cutting costs can feel overwhelming. Lucky for you, Rocket Money takes the guesswork out of all of it, so you can make smart decisions. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your billing over budget. Total of 5. Cancel your with no artificial dyes, paying a minimum of 2 years though since I've covered this topic. But last I heard they were getting into the avocado trade.
Yes.
What else are they diving into?
Okay, crude oil, avocado, and agriculture is the biggest ones. So, after human smuggling and drug trafficking, the second most profitable form of revenue for the cartels is huachicol, the crude oil theft. This has been going on for forever, and we have seen a lot of mass tragedies due to this, even though it's not, a illicit substance like fentanyl.
Mm-hmm.
The way they tap into these pipelines in a lot of unsecured areas in smaller towns where these pipelines run through, if they tap into it wrong, or if they do it time and time again, it leads to a mass explosion. And these headline in Mexico all the time and have been for decades. Now, what's happening now is actually just a few weeks ago, 3 CJ&G operatives were sanctioned by the US for trafficking stolen crude oil from Mexico into the US, and certain smaller American oil companies were buying this oil, and they were bringing it into the US labeled as waste oil. So it was going completely undetected. A lot of it was going into the port of Brownsville in Texas. And this for them is a $1 billion business.
Waste oil?
They were
What the hell is waste oil?
they were calling it waste oil.
So the U.S. is just letting people import waste oil to dump here?
Apparently, because they were bringing this in trucks, and it was being taken to smaller refineries where then it was known that it was not waste oil, it was actually raw crude oil, and that was giving them around $3 billion a year at one point.
How much money are they making off of this?
Like billions of dollars, like
Billions?
$3 billion a year.
$3 billion.
There's like 17,000 like tankers worth of oil that are being stolen per day in Mexico.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
17,000 tankers a day?
That's what Pemex numbers show, which is the Mexican oil company. It has a monopoly, Pemex.
Wow. Do you think they'll just try to take control of the pipeline itself?
They do. That's exactly what they do. And a lot of National Guard and local police are on the cartel payroll so that they can go and tap into these pipelines and no one's going to say anything. Actually, just
You're talking about actually like tapping
Yes.
into the pipeline?
Yes.
Or I'm talking about just taking control of the entire pipeline and piping it to
piping it
wherever
into okay. Probably not.
Okay.
That's a whole, I mean, it could be happening, but I haven't done any reporting on that. I mean, from what I know and what I've seen is them physically going and tapping into the pipeline and stealing it and putting it into the tanker and driving that across. And just a few days ago, 11 members of the National Guard were arrested because they were caught red-handed at a pipeline stealing the oil.
And they're just getting this through the U.S. border?
Yep.
Just
Driving it across.
17,000 tankers a day are coming across the U.S. border.
I don't know if 17,000 tankers are moving across the border a day, but that's how much is being stolen per day. So it's obviously going somewhere at a certain point in time. And this is major profits for the cartel, especially with this crackdown at the southern border on fentanyl and human smuggling, which is, a major financial pipeline for them. Let's go make money off a different pipeline.
I mean, we don't import any gas from Mexico, do we? Do we? Like legally?
Legally, yeah. So a lot of the crude oil from Mexico goes to the U.S. and is fined in the U.S. and refined in the US and Mexico buys it back.
So this is a relatively easy operation to
Yeah.
bust into.
Mexico doesn't have the refinery, doesn't have the infrastructure to do it. They buy the gas back.
Okay, so we buy the gas, or we refine the gas and then pipe it back into Mexico.
Yeah. And so
Interesting.
that's one that I talk about a lot, because the problem with this is they can do it so under the radar, and they're experts at it at this point because it's been going on for so long, and there's so much impunity around it and corruption. So many people, the right people, are paid off. The right people, whether that's politicians, National Guard, police, are profiting off of this trade. And so the way to crack down on this is so murky, because it's not, you don't have this fentanyl pill that's going to kill someone, and that's a controlled substance. It's oil, and it's something that everybody needs. And if the way to get this oil is by going into these undetected regions where it's just a small town and law enforcement knows what's going on, it's very easy to access for them.
Do you think that this will, I mean, oil and gas is a big business.
Exactly.
And some of the most powerful people in the world the most powerful people in the world are in, oil and gas. And so I guess what I'm asking is, I mean, do your sources believe that the oil and gas sector of their cartel business will overtake fentanyl in drug trafficking?
If push comes to shove and they really have to rely on something that isn't drugs, they could certainly move all of their operations to oil.
Why wouldn't they just want to anyways? Why?
Because money.
I mean, it seems so much. You think the drug trade is more than the gas trade?
It's more profitable for them.
Right now?
Yes.
Or 10 years down the road?
I don't know. It's very hard to say, and it depends where and how they want to distribute their resources. If they want to fully focus on that, they could make it their number one earner.
I mean, because the only reason I'm asking is from an American aspect. I mean, that doesn't really affect us. That affects
Mexican
oil and
people.
gas industry in Mexico.
Exactly.
That only enhances U.S. refining.
Which is why I thought it was interesting when these 3 CJ&G members were sanctioned for importing this stolen crude oil. None of the U.S. refineries faced any sanctions or legal action.
Yeah.
And of course, investigators certainly knew or know which refineries and companies were buying this stolen oil. But nothing happened there on that front. Why? Because this is not killing Americans.
It's legitimately just not our problem.
No,
That's the Mexican government can take care of that.
exactly.
What
It's
else?
not like the drugs.
What else are they diving into?
Agriculture. Agriculture has been huge, and more than ever before. I mean, the 3 major points of agriculture where all avocados that you guys eat here and limes that you guys use is coming from Michoacan, Jalisco, Nayarit. And those are CJ&G strongholds. So what's been happening for the longest time, and particularly now as they're trying to diversify their revenue streams, cartel operatives are going in to these ranches, these orchards, and telling the farmers who have had these orchards in their families for generations, because I don't know if you know, but raising one avocado tree, if it's successful, which is also just difficult within itself, can take up to 15 years. So this takes a lot of dedication to be an avocado farmer. And it's a very profitable fruit. They call it green gold for something. And cartels are going in. Armed men will show up and say, listen, you're either going to pay me X percentage of whatever you're profiting off of your avocado exports, or this becomes ours. And a lot of these farmers, they're doing well for themselves, in terms of earning potential in Mexico generally, right? They're making an honest income. They're working their asses off. The whole family is part of this business. They're employing people from their town. And they're making good money to support themselves. So then you have our men come and say either get out or pay me an amount that they typically cannot afford because it's not that much money. And you're saying now, give me 80% of your earnings. How are you supposed to maintain your orchards if you're losing more than half of your income to crime? So a lot of these people have to abandon their farms. This is hundreds of avocado orchards, particularly in Michoacan, have been abandoned by their rightful owner, and cartels are now working those orchards. Or the very people who own these places are now being employed by the cartel to go and farm the land, work the land. And there are certain produce companies in the US who are knowingly, some not knowingly, but others knowingly purchasing avocados from cartel-run avocado orchards in Mexico. And I reached out to these, I actually had a really significant produce person, someone who worked for the US government as an inspector before. So the US sends inspectors to these regions to make sure, you know, for pesticide control, pest control, whatever the case may be, and even for ethics. So is organized crime operating here? And I got in contact with someone who did this job. And I got a list of produce company names that were knowingly importing avocados and limes from farms that are now run by the cartels blatantly. And when I reached out to them and said, you know, what is your guys' due process to ensure that you aren't supporting organized crime? No comment. We don't talk about this. Of course you won't. But wouldn't you want to clear your name? Wouldn't you want to show to the American avocado consumer that those avocados aren't blood fruit?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds, what you're describing sounds really very similar to the diamond trade.
Of course.
But, I mean, with that being said, it's I mean, how many legitimate avocado farms are there left in Mexico? The only reason I'm asking is Luis Chaparro. I've had him on several times here, and he talked about the avocado trade with the cartels and how Super Bowl seasons they'll create a shortage despite the prices and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, do these U.S. based fruit companies, do they even have anywhere else to buy this stuff from, or is it just cartels?
At this point, it's likely just cartels. And the cartels manipulated that because it got to a point when the U.S. agricultural inspectors were going to Mexico to inspect these farms, then they were being threatened. And so then the US stopped sending inspectors to these regions, which meant it was a free-for-all for the cartels to take over every single orchard that existed there.
Well, I mean, an inspector isn't going to stop.
No,
But
no, that's not even his job. That's not their job.
so is the Mexican government doing anything about this
Nothing.
at all?
Okay, they sent in when this a bunch of farmers banded together, because they will do that. You know, they're tough, they're hardworking, and they banded together and said, we can't take this anymore. The cartels are taking over our livelihoods, they're taking over our businesses. So Mexican government sent in a couple thousand troops to these regions to try and protect them, but those very troops were getting paid off by the cartel too. They were also being threatened. There were shootouts at these farms. And typically when that happens in Mexico, unfortunately, government backs down.
How about the water trade?
Yeah, that's another thing, especially in these same regions, because it's very important for farmers, you know, for the irrigation, but also just for the people living in these regions. They've monopolized water, they monopolized Wi-Fi, even Wi-Fi. Yeah, they put up their own Wi-Fi wires in certain towns in these regions, so you can only purchase from the cartel provider.
No shit.
They cut the cords from, there's other Wi-Fi providers in Mexico like Izzy and there's other ones, right? Of legitimate. And those wires are being cut. The infrastructure is being destroyed. Cartel puts up their own infrastructure. Now you have to only get your Wi-Fi from us.
Wow. So they have communications, they have agriculture, they have oil and gas.
I mean, it's every single aspect of basic life, every necessity.
I mean, how is the relationship what is their relationship like with the Chinese that are piping in all of the precursors to make fentanyl? So you had mentioned a lot of them are going to Canada now, but I mean, seems, just interviewed Tom Homan, you know, the border czar, and he said that I believe, I have to reference the interview, but I believe he said that the southern border is 96.8% secured. Do you agree with that?
It's a very high number, and I do believe that the southern border is a lot more secured than it was 6 months ago. Certainly. The price of being smuggled across the border has gone up. Like if you want to pay for a coyote to take you across, less coyotes are operating because of just the sheer amount of vigilance at the southern border. And US and Mexico numbers both show that fentanyl trafficking has gone down at the southern border. 96% is very high. To say it's 96% secured, I mean, how do you even quantify how secure a border is? But in terms of,
I think you do it by the number of people coming across.
the number of people coming across, right? But of course, you don't track every single person that's coming across. Has it gone down? Certainly. And numbers on both sides of the border show that. And if you just go to that border, it looks so different than it did 6 months ago. I mean, you have tons of CBP, helicopter patrol constantly. Mexico deployed an additional, I think, 12,000 National Guard to secure their side of the border. And the threat of tariffs and US intervention in Mexico really did push Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum to act on the southern border, because she didn't want to see a Mexico where there was American intervention. She wanted to maintain autonomy. Fair enough.
Why don't you think she wants any intervention?
Because she wants Mexico to stay Mexico. She doesn't want to see American forces coming in. She doesn't want Mexican people to feel like their own government can't deal with it by themselves. And
Don't they already feel like that?
100%. But you can't admit a loss. Another point to that is to protect people who are in her administration who have narco ties.
Does she have narco ties?
100%.
100%.
I believe she definitely has narco ties.
What makes you believe that?
She's with the Morena party. So many political figures in this party have now, just recently, been sanctioned by the US, had their visas revoked by the US, have been tied to shell companies in the US that are cleaning money for the cartels. This was the most violent Mexican election in the history of Mexican elections. Why were people dying at the polls? Why were armed men showing up to voting stations and destroying the ballots and the ballot boxes? And then prior to her, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, the previous president of Mexico, who basically took Sheinbaum and put her up and said, everyone who voted for me, vote for her, and she won by a landslide. No one has ever voted by that margin in a Mexican federal election ever before. He had been reported to have received a significant multi-million-dollar payout from the Sinaloa cartel.
Wow.
So if you have this party that just has so many rotten apples, you're telling me it's not spoiling the bunch, and that the main figurehead of this party, the president of Mexico, who could, if she really wanted to, say, fuck the cartels, we're ending them. Everyone is suffering on both sides of the border and globally. Okay, we're going to crack down. And that's not really happening. It's a soft stance. It's certainly not as soft as her predecessor. His slogan was abrazos no balazos, hugs not bullets. She didn't take that on, which I think was great, because what do you mean you're gonna, it just didn't, it made no sense. But do I think she has narco ties? Yeah, and people come for me a lot when I say that, because they say, I'm like, you're just shitting on a president who's cares about the Mexican people. I think if she really cared about the Mexican people, the cartel crackdown would be to the next level.
I think if she really cared about the Mexican people, it would be a positive to get the U.S. in there to help solve this problem.
And then the U.S. has this watch list of narco politicians. A source from your government actually gave me a few names. I published that list, and then exactly a month later, one of the people that I had on that list, which was the governor of Baja California, Marina del Pilar, her U.S. tourist visa and her husband's were revoked. And there was no reason given as to why, but there's certainly an investigation going. She's also part of the Morena party. And then the governor of Sinaloa, Ruben Rocha Moya, who, a lot of people who seek the truth have beef with him because
permanent statement on the record for this platform and everyone watching. As this page continues to grow and we dig deeper into the verified data, the public filings, and the timeline discrepancies of this case, I want to make my personal and professional baseline unmistakably clear. I am in complete, absolute mental clarity. I love my life, I love my family, and I am entirely committed to being here for them. I have zero intention on going missing. I have zero intentions on stepping away from my platforms, and I will never, under any circumstances, harm myself or end my life. Any claim or event suggesting otherwise is completely false. I am an independent researcher strictly sticking to black and white public records, official court discovery, and the state's own evidence logs. My focus is entirely on judicial transparency, forensic physics, and structural accountability. Threats, intimidation tactics, or frantic attempts to silence this platform will not work. The data is already there, the timeline math has already been exposed, and we are going to keep moving forward with the facts. This statement is locked in, it is on the record, and the truth is coming out. I know that sounds crazy, like you're going public with this. Why would they, like, that would be stupid of them. They're smarter than that. You know what? Because you think that, I just want to go ahead and put a formal, permanent statement on the record for this platform. Hands down, the best. المواطن. كيفك تعرفني
Please continue to the first window. I'll take your order at the first window. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
He has been a part of a lot of shady dealings, and how is your state going to erupt into this war zone where the cartels basically control every aspect of politics, law enforcement, and daily life for the citizens?
I don't care what it says. I know what I meant. I wrote that, but you're misinterpreting my note.
And you told us repeatedly that you never detected that Lindsay had pressured speech, right?
Correct.
October 21st of 22.
I don't care what it says. I know what I meant. I wrote that, but you're misinterpreting my note.
And you told us repeatedly that you never detected that Lindsay had pressured speech, right?
Correct.
October 21st of 22. Is that correct, right up there?
Yeah, not hyper pressured speech.
What was that? Not hyper what?
Not hyper, not pressured speech is what I meant. I know it doesn't say not, but that is exactly what I meant.
Wait, when did you see this that you noticed that it did not say not?
I don't care what it says. I know what I meant.
Well, when you wrote this, you did not say not pressured speech. You said in the medical record, pressured speech, right?
No.
Does it say that?
Yeah, the word is, the word not is right before not hyper, comma, pressured speech. The two are following the not.
To you? When you put down in a medical record, heart racing, comma, severe anxiety, comma, worried about kids, comma, baby, comma, sleep, comma, yawns, but not drowsy, period. Not hyper, comma, pressured speech. That's what you wrote, right?
She did not have pressured speech.
That, doctor?
I wrote that, but you're misinterpreting my note.
Am I reading this correctly, and the jury will be able to look at it, that you put not hyper, comma, pressured speech? Did I read that right?
Yes, but your interpretation is incorrect.
As opposed to yours?
That is the fucking definition of lying on the stand. Wow.
I don't care what it says.
Fucking busted. I don't know what case this is. I don't know who this is, but that person on the stand is fucking busted lying. Wow. That is fucking crazy. Wild.
Yet you're sitting high and mighty
Says
as if
I-
nothing is happening.
Wow.
Everything is okay.
That is fucking crazy.
Is okay. And the US names him. And the president of Mexico goes up in public in her morning press conferences and defends him. Says, no. He's doing his job. And honestly.
Wow. Wow.
And look, people can say all they want. Well, maybe she doesn't directly have ties with narcos. Okay, but if she's defending the very people who do, who are under her administration, does that not make you just as guilty? I mean, tell me about your integrity and your responsibility to protect the citizens of the country and ensure that they have a solid quality of life while protecting the very people who are ruining that.
Have you heard of... I've heard a lot of rumors that former SOCOM and JSOC special operators are going down and training cartel. Have you veterans? Have you heard that?
Like, not part of the Green Beret program, because there is a program. The U.S. does train Mexican military, and then they kind of form their own.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about guys that have separated from the military that are going down there
and directly training cartels.
Yes.
Yes.
How much of that is going on?
If you go to Tamaulipas right now, it borders Texas and Mexico, there are cartel operatives who can expertly show you how to put together, arm, and put a minigun on top of a vehicle and use it like an expert.
Mm-hmm.
And that isn't common knowledge, and that isn't something that, like guerrilla warfare teaches you. These people are directly being taught by US ex-military. I've heard, and we were talking about this on the way here, Israelis, people who know how to use high-level arms and know a fair bit about high-level warfare tactics. If the cartels weren't trained by these very people, they would not be able to function at the level that they are.
Do you have any sources that have told you that former SOF guys are heading down there to train?
Yeah, particularly in Mexican states that border Texas. There are cartel operatives in Tamaulipas who will blatantly say, the gringo taught us this. Or do it the way the gringos do it.
Well, that's terrifying.
And that has to do not only like with the miniguns, but the IEDs that they have. Their IEDs now are just next level. Drone operations. They're using drones that now, initially,
hey, ladies and gentlemen,
were attaching bombs, IEDs to the drones, flying them in, and then the whole contraption would blow up. Now they're doing it in a way where the drone goes in, it drops the IED, and then the drone goes back out, and they're saving a lot of technology by doing this, right? And it's making it it's fast.
Did Mustafa have his foot on the brake the entire time? This is Mustafa's foot on the brake the whole entire time. When it says on, that means Mustafa's foot is on the brake the entire time. So Mustafa is slamming on the brake the entire time trying to stop the vehicle. Question is, was Mustafa accelerating? Was Mustafa hitting the gas? Mustafa's foot, when it says 0, Mustafa was not hitting the gas. Mustafa's foot was only on the brake. He was only slamming on the brake. Did Mustafa have his foot on the brake the entire time? This is Mustafa's foot on the brake the whole entire time. When it says on, that means Mustafa's foot is on the brake the entire time. So Mustafa is slamming on the brake the entire time trying to stop the vehicle. Question is, was Mustafa accelerating? You can't gaslight this case and say, well, the body cam doesn't exist. The metadata from Exxon is going to tell you whether the body cam.
What's up, brother? DoorDash for
tracking the operation.
Mariari.
They were taught by Americans.
They were taught by Americans how to do that too.
Yeah. And with the anti-drone technology. That came from overseas. Well, that came from abroad.
They have anti-drone technology?
Yes.
What kind of anti-drone?
They have, so I wish I could show you the video of it. They have like the big drone blockers. So if there is a drone flying in the area, they can completely disable that drone and make it, have it cease to function.
Wow, what other kind of tech are that? That's where I wanted to lead into. Is
Okay.
that, warfare is changing.
Yes. I
In
appreciate you.
the astronomical basis.
They're at a point in their warfare where they've never had this level of access before and expertise. They have technology that you would never have imagined cartels have. I mean, with the amount of money and access they have to certain people and expertise, certainly they can do this. They can learn how to operate anti-drone technology, how to use drones multiple times and drop IEDs, how to set up a minigun. But they're also, they're using technology that it's not typical warfare technology. So even in certain regions, they have like cell phone blockers, but just set up throughout the town too. So you walk in and all of a sudden, either your phone doesn't work or it's immediately tapped. Even the way they're putting Pegasus on people's phones.
They're putting Pegasus on people's phones?
Oh, Mexico, and particularly Mexican journalists, it's like you are the #1 victim of having Pegasus on your phone.
No kidding.
Yeah. They got Pegasus from Israel.
You want to talk about Pegasus real quick?
Yeah, we can talk about, Pegasus, it's like the #1 phone hacking technology, and it doesn't take anything at all. It's literally, I get a message on WhatsApp. If I just press on that contact that sent me the message, Pegasus is now in my phone, and they have access to everything, all of the data, even the metadata that's in my phone, and can track me, can listen in to me, everything. And just recently, actually, the Mexican president's phone was hacked. It was a phone that she said she never used, and it was just like a personal phone. But if you're able to hack the president's phone, anyone is at risk. And Mexico is a main consumer of, or user of Pegasus technology.
Who are they deploying all this stuff against? Is it cartel on cartel for the most part?
No, it's anyone that threatens their operations. So of course, yes, they're cartel adversaries, but politicians, law enforcement, journalists, even sometimes people who are working for them, their own straw buyers, people who they feel like they can't fully trust. Stay Frosty put some Pegasus on his phone.
What about the drones?
What about the drones?
Who are they deploying that on?
They're deploying the drones against Mexican forces. If there is an operation that's going down, they know Mexican forces are going to be in this area. They will even trap them. So lead Mexican forces, this happened not so long ago, an example of this, lead Mexican forces to believe that a key figure is here or a key lab is here, and they will arm that location with IEDs and have drones ready to go in there. Mexican forces will get there and they get exploded.
Okay, so they hit them with IEDs and then do a drone swarm.
Yeah.
How big are the drone swarms? Any idea?
It really depends on like which cartel is operating this, but for the most part, they're not that large. They have just like, even just like regular drones. They're using like even like the DJI drones, or they're getting the drones from China that are like a knockoff version and attaching bombs to it and just dropping those in. And you'll even see videos of when they're flying, they're kind of weighed down a bit.
So nothing like 100 drones coming all at once, like some.
No, it's not to that extent.
Ukraine.
At least not yet.
How far out do you think we are before that starts happening?
It depends if the U.S. puts boots on the ground in Mexico. Because I don't think Mexican forces will ever push it to a point where cartels feel like that's how hard they need to hit them.
You don't?
No.
You don't think so?
No. There's too much at risk, and there's too much for them to lose. I think, something that really stood out to me.
What's the risk? What do you mean there's too much for them to lose?
For Mexican special forces to be at risk of danger. I was gonna say, when I was in Sinaloa, they had just, the day that I got there, we went to the base and they had just brought in reinforcements for National Guard. And a lot of the people were very young, and they were literally coming into a place where they were ready to face the cartels head on. I mean, every night it was just like, you would just see the fireworks, the shootouts. In the morning, there would be dead bodies lining major highways with notes, sending messages. And so these guys were coming in. knowing that they had to take on a very desperate cartel head on and try to stop some extreme level of violence with very little experience. They were very young. And some of them looked so nervous and even fearful to be there. And if there is that level of fear, then when you ask me, are these guys going to go in and take them head on to a point where the cartels will completely amp up and you have 100 drone swarms going in there and just taking out Mexican forces? No, because I don't think the Mexican forces would get to that level. I mean, hugs not bullets was a policy for so long that now to switch that up and go have the pendulum swing to the exact opposite, where it's like, no, we are going to take them on. I don't think the people who are in the forces, you know, I don't want to undermine it, and I don't mean it like this, but I don't think the training and the morale is even there to be like, I'm going in to die for this. We're taking these guys out. So no, Mexican cartels won't likely, unless U.S. forces come into Mexico, get to a level where they believe they have to completely amp up operations where it's like Ukraine-Russia style, simply due to the fact that Mexican forces aren't going to push them to that level.
So you don't think that they're proactive enough to start to stock up on drones, start getting 3D printers and printing their own drones and all of these
Proactive,
things?
yes.
Or if U.S. forces do come in?
100%.
You don't think they'll deploy them though unless
U.S. steps in.
Interesting.
Because they won't have a need to. But are they proactively stocking up? 100% yes, and I've been told about this from the very people in charge of ensuring that they are armed.
Do they have strategic locations where they're stocking up? I mean, since you're saying that they are proactive, do they have strategic locations where they're stocking up on tech, weapons, all this kind of stuff? Do they know what? Do they think they might know what it might look like, where the fight's going to begin?
Yes, it's okay. First and foremost, there are safe houses throughout all of Mexico where they're stocking up on this, and particularly, surprisingly enough, in a lot of tourist destinations, because it's easy access. A lot of these places have water access. It goes under the radar. So, Puerto Vallarta, Acapulco, these are cities that the cartel is using to their advantage to stock up, and because they already have a lot of operations going on there, and because they know that those areas won't be hit as a war zone because they're tourist hotspots. So Mexico will never want to scare away the tourism sector. So if they have a safe house in a place like Puerto Vallarta, which is also the CJ&G stronghold, filled with arms, filled with tech, drones, 3D printers, you name it, they can get there, they can get the access, they can get someone to bring it out to them, and it won't be a problem. Now, in terms of the places that would be hit, like say U.S. operators stepped into Mexico, again, it won't be those particular regions. It will be Sinaloa, it will be Culiacan, it will be Michoacan, it will be Guerrero, it will be Tamaulipas, areas where Veracruz, and there's a port in Veracruz.
Units. I mean, those guys are going to go everywhere. It doesn't matter.
I agree. And I think that the cartels certainly know that.
Mm-hmm.
They're bracing for it. A lot of them are worried that that's going to happen. If it hasn't already, there's some level of American intervention in Mexico. I mean, we've seen it with the CIA planes that are flying, that they obviously have Mexican permission to do that, but there's CIA planes flying across the northern Mexican states. The U.S. is certainly gathering intel, and they're working bilaterally with Mexico. How long will that last, or how far is that going? Not to the point that Mexico would like to see. But the U.S. knows that they have to withhold some information and a lot of intelligence in order for their operations not to fail. Because the one wrong person finds out about it, whether that's in government, whether that's in Mexican intelligence, and the whole operation goes to shit. The cartels certainly know that.
Mm-hmm.
They're
You would deploy?
Yes.
I think that's probably where we would deploy convention.
Filled with arms, filled with tech, drones, 3D printers, you name it. They can get there, they can get the access, they can get someone to, it's easy access. A lot of these places have water access.
There's some printing their own drones and all of these
Proactive,
things.
yes.
Or if U.S. forces do come in.
100%.
You don't think they'll deploy them though, unless
U.S. steps in.
Interesting.
Because they won't have a need to. But are they proactively stocking up? 100% yes, and I've been told about this from the very people in charge of ensuring that they are armed.
Do they have strategic locations where they're stocking up? I mean, since you're saying that they are proactive, do they have strategic locations where they're stocking up on tech, weapons, all this kind of stuff? Do they know what? Do they think they might know what it might look like, where the fight's going to begin?
Yes, it's okay. First and foremost, there are safe houses throughout all of Mexico where they're stocking up on this, and particularly, surprisingly enough, in a lot of tourist destinations, because it's easy access. A lot of these places have water access. It goes under the radar. So, Puerto Vallarta, Acapulco, these are cities that the cartel is using to their advantage to stock up in, because they already have a lot of operations going on there, and because they know that those areas won't be hit as a war zone because they're tourist hotspots. So Mexico will never want to scare away the tourism sector. So if they have a safe house in a place like Puerto Vallarta, which is also the CJNG stronghold, filled with arms, filled with tech, drones, 3D printers, you name it, they can get there, they can get the access, they can get someone to bring it out to them, and it won't be a problem. Now, in terms of the places that would be hit, like say U.S. operators stepped into Mexico, again, it won't be those particular regions. It will be Sinaloa, it will be Culiacán, it will be Michoacán, it will be Guerrero, it will be Tamaulipas, areas where Veracruz, and there's a port in Veracruz.
You're saying that's where we would deploy?
Yes.
I think that's probably where we would deploy conventional guys if we did that. But as far as strategic strikes, when you bring in the tier 1 units, I mean, those guys are going to go everywhere.
I agree. And I think that the cartels certainly know that. They're bracing for it. A lot of them are worried that that's going to happen. If it hasn't already, there's some level of American intervention in Mexico. We've seen it with CIA planes that are flying the northern Mexican states. The U.S. is certainly gathering intel, and they're working bilaterally with Mexico. How long will that last, or how far is that going? Not to the point that Mexico would like to see. But the U.S. knows that they have to withhold some information and a lot of intelligence in order for their operations not to fail. Because the one wrong person finds out about it, whether that's in government, whether that's in Mexican intelligence, and the whole operation goes to shit. Even with El Chapo's family going into Tijuana, or going across the border and receiving sort of safe haven in the U.S., Mexico didn't know about that. Mexico hasn't received information on that. And the head of national security for Mexico made a point to say, we aren't in the loop with this.
How do you think we defeat them? I'm just curious. Have you thought about that all?
Yeah, I think about that all the time. And people ask me that all the time, and people ask that because they want to see it happen. But how does that happen? It would be a multifaceted approach. There's no silver bullet. We both know this. And it's very complicated because they have their claws so enthralled in every aspect. You know, whether it's the ways that they're diversifying their revenue in oil and gas and whatever it is, but also in politics and internationally. So to defeat this Fortune 500 corporation that's armed to the max and is always a step ahead, it would be a matter of cracking down on extreme intelligence gathering, finding out where the main guys are, dismantling them and their local networks, dismantling their online propaganda projects, tackling the people particularly who are under the radar and in charge of laundering a lot of the money, setting up the shell companies, the remittance sites that are allowing these cartels ways to launder their money internationally, the banks. It goes so deep. It wouldn't just be a matter of go get the big guy like when they got El Mayo this summer. Mm-hmm. You have to tackle the finances.
Yeah, I think a lot about this. I mean, I don't think, we just did that for 20 years in the war on terror, taking out leaders. I think the number 2 had like a 2-week life expectancy, but every time you take one out, it's, new ones in. And so I don't think taking out just leadership would work.
What do you think needs to happen?
I don't know. I mean, if we infiltrated, it would be extremely bloody just because of the amount of people that are involved in the cartel. It wouldn't work if you just took out the leadership. I just from the years of covering this, here and there and throughout with the different people that I've had on, I think that the way to do it would be, and I don't know, like I said, it's been a minute since I've talked about this, but I don't know how combative the cartels are towards each other anymore, but I think what I would do is I would probably create some type of psychological operation that pits the cartels against each other and basically create a false narrative so that this cartel and this cartel hate each other and they go to war with each other and then find ways to intervene and, you know what I mean? And,
well, that's basically what's happening in Sinaloa.
Is that what's happening there?
I mean, El Mayo was brought to the U.S., kidnapped allegedly, and now we're in real time watching the fall of the Sinaloa cartel.
Just from pulling him?
Yep.
Well, then maybe
El Chapo was gone, now El Mayo is gone, and the infighting began, and just like a house of cards, it's falling in on itself. But, to the same point, CJND swoops in, said, we'll make an alliance, Chapitos and us, which, how real can that alliance be when they've been sworn enemies? And what's essentially going to happen is CJNG is going to take over that faction and take over Sinaloa. So, great. What your suggestion was work to completely dismantle the Sinaloa cartel that has been operating for forever and was at one point one of the largest cartels in Mexican history. But now we have CJNG. So what, you do the same thing with them?
Yeah.
And it just keeps going on and on until they're done.
Well,
like the supply and demand for drugs.
I mean, how many cartel members were eliminated, in that scuffle between those?
Oh, at this point, hundreds that were operating with the Sinaloa cartel.
Mm-hmm.
So people of importance, yeah.
Doesn't have to be people of importance. I mean, there's also a psychological factor as well, where maybe these weren't as brutal as they are now.
I mean,
Or I could be wrong.
Enough people were eliminated for this cartel to not be functioning, basically, at this point. And for them to have to strike a deal with an enemy cartel, an adversary.
How many big ones are there?
Cartels
Yeah,
in
how
Mexico?
many big ones?
Okay, well,
Who are the top three?
I would say the top three: CG&G, the Gulf Cartel, Cartel del Noreste, and well, Sinaloa. I'll keep it still there. So
And they're crumbling. Sinaloa.
Sinaloa is crumbling. Yeah, that's why I didn't put it in top three, but it would certainly be in top three. And I think the U.S. designated 8 of them, if I'm not mistaken, as foreign terrorist organizations, which included all those I mentioned and a few more. But for example, like, there were certain factions of cartels or fragmented versions of cartels that were not on that list. And when you have fragmented groups of a previously stronghold cartel still existing, those groups end up attaching on to a larger cartel that's operating. And it just makes them stronger because they gain more territory, they gain access to more people, more guns.
What do you think happens if we go to China and we're able to stop the precursors from being shipped?
It doesn't matter because the Sinaloa cartel is now, it just came out a few months ago, is taking chemistry students from universities in Sinaloa and having them try to figure out how to make the precursors.
Is it working?
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I have a feeling that there's probably batches out on the streets, or they're preparing batches that have these homemade precursors now. We'll see if it works. It's just like what happened with fentanyl. You have to see what happens with the streets. But from what I can tell, and the people in Sinaloa that I've spoken to, they're still yet to make those precursors tangible enough to actually make the fentanyl from them. But they're already trying to cut out China.
They're trying to cut China out.
Yeah, by making the precursors.
That's why they're doing it? They want to cut China out.
Cut China out. Increase your profits. Cut out that middleman. Not even a middleman, because they're supplying the necessary goods to produce this deadly drug. But once the cartels figure out how to make the precursors, fentanyl will become more accessible than ever before, more deadly than ever before. And I think the U.S. certainly knows that the cartels are trying to make the precursors, which is definitely a big part of the reason of the crackdown.
I mean, it seems like they wouldn't want to cut China out.
Why not?
Because, I mean, even though they don't have the same goals, I think the cartel is money and China is the reverse opium war. You know, I mean, they serve each other well, I guess is what I'm saying. And so that's interesting that they want to cut them out. I would think that they would want to align more, but
I don't think it would be they would cut them out in a way where it ends on bad terms, but rather it would just streamline the fentanyl production. Would they still probably bring in some of the precursors? Yeah, supplement the supply. But it won't be to the same extent, and it wouldn't end with a bad taste in anyone's mouth, because certainly they leverage a good relationship with China.
Interesting. Let's take another quick break. We all see it. Prices are up across the board. Gas, groceries, home repairs. And if you're a homeowner, you've probably wondered whether it makes sense to refinance and knock out that credit card debt. But then you hesitate because of that low mortgage rate you're holding on to. The thing is, the low rate doesn't help much if you're stuck paying 25% interest on credit cards. That math adds up fast, and it's likely costing you a lot more than you think. Here's the truth. If you're only making minimum payments, the debt will follow you for years. That's why people are calling American Financing, because they're saving customers an average of $800 a month by using their equity to finally break free from credit card debt. You owe it to yourself to see what's possible. No upfront fees, no pressure. It costs you nothing to find out what you could save every month. And if you start today, you may be able to delay 2 mortgage payments. Call American Financing today at 866-781-8900. That's 866-781-8900 or AmericanFinancing.net/SRS. If If you ever feel like the modern world is wearing you down, things like EMFs, artificial light, seed oils, microplastics, chronic stress, it seems like our biology wasn't designed for these modern assaults, and it's probably taking a toll on all of us. Armor colostrum is a bioactive whole food that can help revive cellular signaling and help bolster our health from within. Colostrum is nature's finest whole food, packed with over 400 bioactive nutrients that work at a cellular level to help strengthen your immune health, help fortify gut health, and help kickstart your metabolism. I've been using Armor. They sent me some to try, and now I have a lot more energy. It's part of my daily routine now. I take